After the collapse of the USSR, Ukraine had up to 500 Tochka-U missiles, but until 2022, Kiev had only 90 of these missiles in service. This is not surprising, since the rocket has a single-stage, solid-fuel engine, and this type of fuel is short-lived, reports Forbes. Most of these missiles are in service with the 19th Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, which, with the help of American missile systems, launches Tochka-U missiles at supply lines and bridgeheads of the Russian armed forces behind the front line. Footage from January and March confirms the fact that the 19th Brigade still has Tochka-U missiles in its arsenal. Experts remind that the factories producing Tochka-U are located on the territory of the Russian Federation. It is unlikely that Kyiv has created new capacities for their production, since the priority is the new Grom-2 missiles. Analysts from the Conflict Intelligence Team Group suggest that Ukraine has modernized and restored the missiles that were previously in the warehouses of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. Experts say the 19th Brigade used up all 90 missiles by the end of 2022. After that, the Tochka-U launchers sat idle for 6 long months. However, already in November 2023, Tochka-Us were used against Russian military targets in the Belgorod region and Donbass. After that, the launchers went silent again. And only in early January 2025, the missiles again appeared at the disposal of the 19th Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. It is possible that the Yuzhmash plant in Dnipro is engaged in the modernization and reconstruction of the Tochka-U. Usually the missiles are produced by the Russian company KBM, but Yuzhmash assembled individual parts for Tochka-U. It is no coincidence that the Ukrainian government has engaged Yuzhmash to build Grom-2. It is no coincidence that Russian forces have repeatedly targeted Yuzhmash. The Kremlin claimed that one strike in April 2023 destroyed the Tochka-U workshop in Dnipro. On November the 21st, the Russians fired an experimental Oreshnik ballistic missile at Dnipro, equipped with several independent warheads. The Tochka-U is a simple rocket. If Yuzhmash can produce heavy engines for high-stakes space launches, there is no reason why it cannot retool the much smaller and simpler Tochka-U, but the pace of work is decidedly slow.
Ukrainian army continues assaults on border Kursk region, where Russia has been making gains in an attempt to regain swathes of lands captured by Kiev since last August. In yet another attack on Russian positions, Ukrainian Air Force struck a bridge near Nyazy settlement in Kursk region with Su-27 fighter aircraft. A video published by the Ukrainian military in social media shows the Ukrainian assault that resulted in the bridge's semi-destruction, with a hole appearing on the bridge. The attack came amid Russia's recent gains in the border region, where Ukraine launched surprise cross-border incursion last August. Russia has been seeking to recapture territories captured by Ukraine in an attempt to have upper hand in peace negotiations. In March, Russian President Vladimir Putin visited Kursk region for the first time since the start of hostilities in the area last year. The Russian Defense Ministry in March announced the recapture of 5 villages in the region. It should be noted that recently Ukraine has been using Western bombs, including American high-precision GBU-62 aerial bomb and French-developed Hammer bombs. Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree ordering the spring conscription of 160,000 men for compulsory military service. The draft, running from April to June, applied to citizens aged 18 to 30 and marked the largest conscription campaign in 14 years. Russia conducts conscription twice a year, in spring and fall, requiring eligible men to serve for 1 year. The last time conscription numbers exceeded this level was in 2011, when 203,000 people were drafted, the Moscow Times noted. In 2024, the spring campaign required 150,000 people, and the fall draft required 133,000. Putin signs decrees specifying the number of recruits required during each period. The Russian government has earlier implemented new measures to streamline the conscription process, making it easier to draft young men, including those who previously evaded service. Although Russian conscripts are typically not deployed in active combat, Moscow has relied on financial incentives and pardons to recruit civilians for the war in Ukraine. Following the unpopular September 2022 mobilization, which saw over 261,000 Russians flee the country, Putin has avoided another large-scale draft, instead using alternative methods to bolster troop numbers. Alexei Getman, a reserve major of the Ukrainian army, a military expert, said that Russia is preparing for a large-scale offensive in Sumy, Kharkiv, and southern Ukraine. The Russians are concentrating and preparing their forces. But they do not have additional resources to attract to carry out these offensive operations. The same troops will be used, the same 600,000-strong force is currently at the front. The Russians do not have an additional 100 to 200,000 forces in the rear to direct and reinforce these groups, the major noted. Getman added that Russia can only quantitatively strengthen certain directions by bringing in troops from other parts of the front. That's why all the Russian statements that they can attack along the entire front line are questionable. Because their forces have not increased quantitatively. On the other hand, we hear that this spring will be the most massive call for military service in Russia.